said, look, Netanyahu hates you. You know that. They don't like each other at all. The people pushing you toward this would include Rupert Murdoch, who despises you. Trump knows that, of course. Mark Thiessen has always hated you. Ben Shapiro, they hate you. Mark Levin hates you, has always hated you. And I said that right to his face. And he said, yeah, I know.
There's a lot to be said about these two clips I'm going to show you. They're short clips, but I wanted to show them to you because, first of all, it's just so true. That's a given, right? Tucker Carlson on Megyn Kelly's show talking about what's going on with... What I find incredible, though, again, is that like Ben Shapiro, Mark Levin, Laura Loomer are the most influential media people in the White House right now. Outside media people. They have the most influence upon the White House, but they have like the lowest numbers. Ben Shapiro's going through a financial collapse at the Daily Wire. They just fired dozens and dozens and dozens of people. Laura Loomer sits in her, I don't even know what sort of studio she's sitting in. It's some, I think it's like the janitor's room in the psych ward that she's probably confined to. And they put some like college dorm room RGB lights up in the corners of the walls to make it look like she's not in a psych ward. And who else do we have? Mark Levin. Mark Levin is he's what is Mark Levin? I don't even know what that guy's deal is. Literally don't even know what that guy's deal is. That guy is like permanently, if Jeffrey Epstein actually is dead, he's like he's probably like got some sort of like an ankle handcuff connected to the rotting, decaying body of Jeffrey Epstein attached to him. And he can never leave his home. He just sits there in that little studio, and the only way that he can get Jeffrey Epstein's rotting body disembarked from his own corpse is if he does enough shilling for the Zionist entity, I think. So that's who you've got influencing the White House. That's really incredible, and they've got no viewers. But the other thing here is that, like, Tucker Carlson, it's incredible to me that Tucker Carlson would say the things that he's saying to Donald Trump, given what just happened to Charlie Kirk after Charlie Kirk told Trump and basically ended their friendship between Kirk and Trump over the fact that he went in saying, do not do a war on Iran. This is not going to be popular. It's not going to be good for America. It's going to backfire in ways that you can't even imagine. And then boom, he's hit with a 30-6 bullet in the neck that has no exit wound, right? So I pray for Tucker's safety, and I do think it's very courageous that he's telling these things to Trump's face, as he says here. But let's take a look at these clips.
Ben Shapiro's going out of business.
No one. You look at his videos on his website, Tucker, on like his YouTube channel. Each one has like 500 views.
Well, exactly. I mean, this is the outer fringe of the outer fringe. Nobody watches this stuff. There's no audience for this. There's no constituency for it. This is totally divorced from the actual problems Americans face. It's hurting our country measurably. $6 gasoline is the result of these policies. These are the people who got us in the Iraq War. Like, nobody is for this. And these are not major figures in American media. They're tiny. I mean, your average porn video has 1,000 more views than any of these people get. So they're a joke.
The truth is that Ben Shapiro's not upset about that because, I don't want to make a defamatory statement here, but I wouldn't be surprised if Ben Shapiro also runs the porn websites, It's very possible.
I don't think these are the people applying the pressure. I do think this is coming from donors. I think it's coming from Miriam Adelson and Paul Singer and the people who are huge players in Republican politics because they fund it. They fund a lot of it, maybe a plurality, possibly a majority of it, all of it, not just at the federal level, but also state level. They're the ones funding the opposition to Thomas Massey in a Republican primary in Kentucky, $10 million. So these are people who have a huge influence over American politics, and they're acting on behalf of the government of Israel, not on behalf of all Israelis, much less all Jews in the world. Hardly. They want you to believe that. It's a lie. Plenty of Jews hate them for good reason. But they're acting on behalf of the Netanyahu government, on behalf of foreign power. And I do think that's where the influence is coming. Like Mark Levin, Trump does not take Mark Levin seriously. Nobody likes Mark Levin. Ben Shapiro, I don't think he knows Trump. He's always hated Trump. Trump doesn't like him. These people are just irrelevant.
That's the other crazy thing. And I did a segment on Ben Shapiro during the elections because I'm like, how is it? First of all, it should raise a very serious red flag that Ben Shapiro is now, during the last elections, campaigning so hard for Trump, right? That was a red flag. red flag and a half. But, you know, Ben Shapiro was always the biggest never Trumper. He's like, Trump is not Zionist enough for me. He's not sufficiently anti-Iran. You know, he doesn't talk about dropping a nuclear bomb on Iran. He only jokes about it. You know, he's not serious about it like me. Ben Shapiro never supported Trump back in 2016 because he was not pro-Israel enough. That was his whole problem with Trump. And you can go back and read the tweets, read the posts that Ben Shapiro made. I did a whole video going through like Ben Shapiro's old tweets about Trump, and like not just about Trump, but about Ukraine and about China and about the Middle East. And it's like, well, you know, this all obviously Trump himself, his own politics, his own governing was a very, very stark disembarking from what he said on the campaign trail, as with every politician, but Trump was the worst objectively. But you look at Ben Shapiro and it's like, he couldn't have been further away from Trump on the campaign trail in his rhetoric, in his beliefs, in his views on the world than just about anyone in American politics, on the right, that is. And he's now supposedly like the most influential, the best friend of Trump, the greatest supporter of MAGA. Same with Laura Loomer, same with Mark Levin. None of these people ever, well, except for Laura Loomer. But, you know, there's questions there. So why she, you know, she told her brother apparently or something that she was blowing Trump. So, but as for, you know, Levin and Shapiro, these guys never supported Trump.
Relevant. They're a sideshow. Miriam Adelson is not irrelevant. Paul Singer is not irrelevant.
Okay, so that was the first clip I wanted to share from the show. But this one I like even better. Tucker Carlson recounts his one-on-one with President Donald Trump, mind you, after Charlie Kirk was shot with a 30-06 with no exit wound in his neck after he told Trump to, to suck it and not launch a war on Iran, and then he did, and then Charlie Kirk got a bullet lodged in his neck that, according to the basic laws of physics, should not have gotten lodged in his neck. And he's going to Trump and saying this right here to his face. It's incredible.
Said, look, Netanyahu hates you. You know that. They don't like each other at all. The people pushing you toward this would include Rupert Murdoch, who despises you. Trump knows that, of course. Mark Thiessen has always hated you. Ben Shapiro, they hate you. Mark Levin hates you, has always hated you.
Yes.
The people pushing you to, I said this right to his face, the people pushing you to do this want to destroy you. And they're doing it on behalf of Israel, whose goals include getting the United States out of the Middle East. They don't want the U.S. in the Gulf because it strengthens the Gulf. They don't
like our friendships there.
They don't like our friendships there at all because Qatar and UAE and Saudi, but also Bahrain, Oman, and Kuwait, but mainly those three countries are a massive rival to regional hegemony. You can't run the Middle East with strong Gulf states. And so they want the U.S. out. Israel wants the U.S. out of the Middle East, and they want to degrade those Gulf states. And I said that right to his face. And he said, yeah, I know.
That's crazy. How are you supposed to even engage with someone like that? He's the president of the United States. He's the most powerful man, supposedly, on the face of the earth. You know, who pulls the strings? Okay, yeah, whatever. But like, you know, on paper, supposed to be the most powerful man on the face of the earth. And he's like, yeah, I know this goes against everything we stand for. I know this actually does not serve the American interests. I know it doesn't serve the interests of our longstanding allies. Keep in mind, the United States has no, defense pact with the Israelis or anything like that. We act like we do, but we don't. Qatar has essentially what is essentially NATO Article 5 protection that was done by Trump. But you know, on the flip side, I would say that, well, the DOE is probably very happy about this war. In fact, they might just be happier than anyone else about this war. And the DOE is objectively one of the most powerful, probably the darkest, most powerful, operating within the shadows of any sort of government agency or department that we have, right? I mean, they have their own special operations unit. They deal with all of our nuclear stuff. They, of course, just looking at it on paper, when you look at will companies under the DOE benefit? Will these major oil conglomerates based in the U.S. and the West, will they benefit from this crisis in the Middle East and the Gulf states, of course they'll benefit. It's like if Saudi Aramco gets their entire oil field, all their oil fields blown up, and it turns into a eternal flame of a parking lot, flattened like a parking lot, and all the infrastructure destroyed, take decades, billions and billions of dollars to rebuild, and all of their reserves are on fire and can't be put out. I mean, yes, of course that benefits American oil companies. There will be a rerouting of energy in the Middle East and to the rest of the world subsequent to that. So, of course, yeah, they are very happy about all of this. But then, you know, there's mixed opinions in the Gulf states. Tucker here is kind of acting like, well, you know, the Gulf states, I don't know, it's not that they don't want this. He's not saying that they don't want this. He's just simply saying that, well, Israel really wants this because they know that the Gulf states are going to get hit hard. Well, yeah, but the Gulf states were also lobbying for this. Of course, the UAE is lobbying for this. Of course, Saudi Arabia is lobbying for this. And when you look at the Gulf states, I mean, they're the only ones whose voices really count for much of anything in the eyes of the United States, right? And Israel in the case of the UAE. And they were lobbying for this war. And what is their motive? What is their interest? I guess their motive may be that Israel would get hit hard and Iran will be weakened to the point where they can never establish themselves as a regional hegemon. And at least amongst the Islamic countries, the GCC states would still reign supreme, and it would not be Iran who takes that mantle. So, but pretty funny nonetheless that I love this last part.
With strong Gulf states. And so they want the U.S. out. Israel wants the U.S. out of the Middle East, and they want to degrade those Gulf states. And I said that right to his face. And he said, yeah, I know.
You just like lay it out simply for the president of the United States. It's supposed to be like the richest, most powerful man in America. And then he's like, yeah, I know, but can't do anything about it. Sorry, bud. That's a sobering moment, I'm sure, for Tucker Carlson. Probably didn't need it, right? I love this too. This is the last part I want to add here. Netanyahu more popular in our country than Carlson, Mamdani, and Schumer. Doesn't Netanyahu have like record disapproval ratings in the United States right now? Tucker has average of 50 million views per episode. Everyone loves that guy. Everyone says run for president, Tucker. Oh, where are we sourcing from, Mr. Levin? Oh, Mr. Levin. Journalistic malpractice. Poll, Netanyahu more popular in the U.S. than Tucker Carlson, Mamdani, Schumer. I bet he wanted this to also say Trump, but, maybe they thought that it'd be a little bit too incendiary to say Netanyahu is more popular than Trump. Might not be good for U.S.-Israeli relations. But yes, this does actually come. He did actually tweet out a link from worldisraelnews.com. I'm sure, very trustworthy source. Mark Levin, you never cease to surprise me with your stupidity. That's for certain. Before you leave, I want to say thank you for the support, because after 2 years of being banned, we are finally back home on YouTube. So be sure to subscribe to our channel and also join as a member on our channel using the link at the top of the description. I rely on the generous support of viewers like yourself to get the truth out to as many people as possible. You can also support the show on Locals or Give Sin Go. The mainstream media and the powers that be are never going to stop attacking us for bringing the truth to as many people as we do. Thank you so much for your support.